The deep blackness of space surrounded the Earthship as it moved slowly through the asteroid field. Commander Jun Kim sat in his captain's chair on the bridge of the EEF Relentless. His dark eyes watched the main screen as his ship scanned another large rock floating in space. "Sensor report, Officer Park," Jun said. Tactical Officer Mina Park looked up from her screen. Her fingers stopped moving across the glowing blue controls. "Just iron and some basic minerals, Commander. Nothing special on this one either," she said. Jun nodded. This mission was supposed to be simple. The Earth Expeditionary Force had sent them to the Epsilon Eridani system to find resources. Earth needed metals and rare elements to build more ships. So far, they had found very little worth taking back. "Move to the next sector," Jun ordered. The pilot Sunho Lee adjusted their course. The ship engines hummed louder as they moved away from the asteroid field. That was when it happened. "Commander, something big just appeared," Mina shouted. Her voice was high with surprise. Jun looked up at the main screen. His mouth opened slightly. A massive ship had appeared from nowhere. It was at least 20 times larger than the Relentless. Its surface was smooth and silver, with strange blue lights pulsing along its sides. It looked like nothing humans had ever built. "Scan it," Jun ordered, trying to keep his voice calm. Mina's fingers flew across her controls. "They're scanning us too, Commander. Their technology. It's far beyond ours." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stared at the giant ship. "Are they sending any messages?" Jun asked. Communications Officer Dae Kim shook his head. "No, sir, nothing yet," Jun thought quickly. This was humanity's first contact with alien life. What he did next would matter for all of Earth. "Wake up, Ambassador Lee," Jun ordered. "Tell him we've made contact." 10 minutes later, Ambassador Taiho Lee rushed onto the bridge. His gray hair was messy and he was still putting on his formal jacket. "Have they communicated yet?" he asked. As if answering his question, the main screen flickered. The image of the alien ship disappeared, replaced by something else. Something not human. The creature on the screen had a head like a bird with colorful feathers and a sharp beak, but its body was more like a human's, with 2 arms and a chest. It wore shimmering clothes that changed color as it moved. "I am High, Speaker Keltarai of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been watching your species for some time." Ambassador Lee stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Taiho Lee of Earth. We are honored to meet you." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are surprised to see us. That is understandable. Your species is young. You have only recently learned to leave your planet. We are eager to learn more about the galaxy and your confederation," Lee said politely. The alien's head tilted to one side. "Yes, humans are always eager, always moving forward. This is why we have come. Your species has developed quickly. Too quickly, perhaps." Jun didn't like how that sounded. "We have been studying Earth for decades," Keltarai continued. "We classify it as a death world, a planet with conditions that should make advanced life very difficult. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous animals, deadly diseases. Most intelligent species evolve on much gentler worlds. Earth has shaped us," Ambassador Lee said, "made us adaptable." "Yes," the alien agreed. "And dangerous. You fight wars. You take risks. You change your environment instead of adapting to it. These qualities concern some members of our confederation." The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. This didn't sound like a friendly meeting anymore. "But," the alien continued, "we also see potential in your species. The Galactic Confederation includes 17 spacefaring species. We offer knowledge, technology, and protection to developing worlds. We would like to extend this offer to Earth." Ambassador Lee smiled. "That is very generous. What would this arrangement involve?" The alien's feathers ruffled slightly. "You would join as a protected species. You would gain access to our knowledge, at a pace we determine is safe. Your expansion into space would be limited to certain areas. Your military development would be supervised." There was silence on the bridge. Jun could feel his heart beating faster with anger. You're talking about putting us in a zoo, he said before he could stop himself. Ambassador Lee shot him a warning look, but the alien focused on June. An interesting comparison, Commander, Keltorai said. But we see it as protecting the galaxy from a species that doesn't yet understand the dangers of space, and protecting you from those same dangers. We've faced dangers before, June replied. It's how we've survived on our death world. Ambassador Lee stepped forward again. What my colleague means is that humans value our independence. Your offer is generous, but we would need to discuss the terms with our world leaders. The alien nodded. Of course. We will send you complete details. The Confederation has existed for thousands of years. We have learned that careful integration of new species ensures peace and stability. After the communication ended, the bridge erupted in conversation. They want to control us, Mina said angrily. Limit our growth. They're afraid of us, Sunho added, because we're from a death world. Ambassador Lee raised his hands for quiet. They have technology far beyond ours. We need to be diplomatic. June stood up from his chair. What we need is to show them what humans are really capable of. If they think we're just dangerous animals that need to be kept in a cage, they're making a big mistake. Later that day, Ambassador Lee and Commander Kim sat alone in the ship's conference room. On the table between them was a data tablet showing the Confederation's complete offer. They've invited us to something called the Galactic Games in 6 months, Lee said. A competition between species. They say it's to welcome us, but it's really to test us, June finished. To see what we can do, Lee nodded. The terms of our membership would be decided after these games. If we perform well, we might get better terms. June picked up the tablet. His eyes narrowed as he read through the details. Then we'll perform well, he said. Very well. They've been in space for thousands of years, June, Lee warned. We've barely left our solar system. We can't win at their games. June smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. That's what they're counting on, he said. But there's something they don't understand about humans. What's that? Lee asked. We don't just play games, June said. We play to win. And once we start playing, we never stop. Outside the ship's windows, the massive alien vessel hung in space, watching, waiting to see what the Deathworlders would do next. 6 months had passed since the first meeting with the aliens. Now Captain Jiho Park stood at the entrance to the massive arena on Nexus Prime, the neutral world chosen for the Galactic Games. Jiho had once been an Olympic athlete on Earth. Now he led the human team in a much bigger competition. The arena was built inside a giant dome. The air smelled strange but breathable. Bright lights shone down from above. Around him, aliens from across the galaxy prepared for the games. Some had too many arms. Others had no arms at all. Some floated in the air while others crawled on the ground. Many of the aliens looked at the humans with fear or disgust. They whispered to each other when the Earth team walked by. They think we're dangerous, said Hyun Song, walking beside Jiho. She was the team's strategic analyst, a small woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. Good, Jiho replied with a smile. Let them be afraid. Hyun shook her head. This isn't just about winning, Jiho. These games will decide how the Confederation treats Earth. If we seem too dangerous, they might restrict us even more. And if we lose, they'll think we're weak, Jiho said. I don't plan to lose. A loud sound like a bell rang through the arena. All the teams moved toward the central platform where the opening ceremony would start. High Speaker Keltarai stood on the platform, his colorful feathers shining under the lights. Behind him stood representatives from all 17 species of the Confederation. Welcome to the 500th Galactic Games, he announced, his voice echoing through the arena. And a special welcome to our newest participants, the humans of Earth. The crowd of aliens made various sounds of greeting. Some clapped hands, others clicked beaks or rubbed tentacles together. As always, these games test the strengths of each species in fairness and friendship, Keltarai continued. The events have been designed to challenge all participants equally. Hyun leaned close to Jiho. That's not true, she whispered. I've studied the event list. Every single one favors the natural abilities of established Confederation species. Jiho wasn't surprised. Then we'll just have to adapt, he said. That's what humans do best. The first event was announced, an underwater race through a pool filled with a blue liquid. Jiho looked at his team and nodded to Sumin Kang, their marine specialist. Sumin stepped forward. She wore a special breathing apparatus on her face. The judges examined it carefully. The liquid contains elements toxic to your species. One, Judge told her, a tall green alien with gills on its neck. Are you sure you wish to participate? I'll be fine, Sumin said. The alien seemed disappointed. Very well. But the favorite is Zell of the Morrican. Their species naturally filters toxins. Sumin looked at her opponent. The Morrican looked like a human-sized jellyfish, with transparent skin and long tentacles. It moved gracefully toward Ye. The pool. The race requires swimming through the pool 3 times, the judge explained. The first to finish wins. Sumin nodded and adjusted her breathing apparatus one last time. The human team had worked day and night to modify it. It didn't just filter toxins, it recycled them for extra propulsion. The starting bell rang. Both competitors dove into the blue liquid. The Morrican moved quickly, its body perfectly adapted for the water. But to everyone's surprise, Sumin kept pace. Her modified apparatus released small bursts of gas with each breath, pushing her forward. By the second lap, she had pulled ahead. The crowd grew quiet as the human passed the Morrican. When Sumin touched the finish point first, the arena was silent. Then the Morrican delegation erupted in angry shouts. This is cheating. The Morrican leader protested to the judges. The human used technology to win. Jiho stepped forward. Show me where in the rules it says equipment modifications are prohibited, he said calmly. The judges checked their rules. After a long discussion, they announced, the human victory stands. Equipment modifications are not prohibited. As Sumin climbed out of the pool, dripping blue liquid, she smiled at Jiho. One down, she said. The games continued for 7 days. Each event seemed designed to be impossible for humans. A strength contest in triple gravity, a mental challenge in a room filled with sound frequencies painful to human ears, a climbing race on walls coated with slippery substances. But each time the humans found a way. They couldn't always win, but they never gave up. They modified their equipment. They developed new techniques on the spot. They worked together when other species competed alone. By the 5th day, the attitude of the other species had changed. Some watched the humans with new respect. Others seemed even more afraid. The final event was a strategy tournament. Teams had to manage resources and territory on a complex game board. The goal was to build the most successful civilization. Many species had been playing this game for centuries. Humans had just learned the rules a week ago. Yoonji Cho, the human team's game expert, sat at the board. Across from her, a tall blue alien with 4 arms arranged its pieces with confidence. Your species is too young to understand true strategy, the alien said. This game requires patience and wisdom. Yoonji said nothing. She studied the board carefully. The game started. The alien played a traditional opening move, claiming safe territory in the corners of the board. Yoonji did something unexpected. She placed her pieces in the center, the most dangerous area. A foolish move, the alien said. The center cannot be defended properly. But as the game continued, the alien's strategy fell apart. Yoonji wasn't trying to defend territory. She was building connections between different regions. She sacrificed pieces willingly to gain advantages elsewhere. She took risks the alien couldn't understand. When the final points were counted, Yoonji had won. The human team cheered. They had won more events than anyone expected. Jiho looked at the scoreboard. Earth hadn't come in first overall, but they had secured 3rd place out of 18 species. High Speaker Keltorai approached the human team after the closing ceremony. Your species has surprised us, he admitted. Your performances were unexpected. Does this mean Earth will get better terms in the Confederation? Jiho asked. Keltorai's feathers ruffled slightly. It means your status will be reconsidered. But I must warn you, Captain Park, You don't understand what you've started here. What do you mean? Jiho asked. These games were meant to be friendly competitions, but your team approached them like battles to be won at any cost. You changed rules. You exploited loopholes. You took unnecessary risks. Jiho stood tall, looking directly at the alien. We played to win, he said simply. That's what humans do. This isn't just about winning, Keltarai said, echoing Hyun's earlier warning. No, Jiho agreed, his eyes reflecting a determination that seemed to unnerve even the imposing alien. It's about proving we deserve our place among the stars, not as pets but as equals. As the human team prepared to return to Earth, word of their performance spread quickly through the galaxy. The Deathworlders had shown they could compete. They had shown creativity, determination, and an unnerving ability to adapt. But this was just the beginning. The real games were about to start. 2 years had passed since the Galactic Games. Earth had been given a provisional membership in the Confederation, but humans were still classified as a developing species with limited rights. Daijung Choi sat at the huge round table in the Galactic Economic Council chamber, listening as his proposal was voted down again. Daijung was Earth's representative to the council. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and tired eyes. This was the 5th time the council had rejected his request for equal trading rights. The vote is 14 against, 3 in favor, announced the council leader, a tall purple alien with 6 eyes. The proposal is rejected. Daejung gathered his papers. The chamber was built like a giant bowl with seats rising in circles. Earth's seat was in the back row, far from the center of power. After the meeting, Daejung met with Hana Yoon in their small office. Hana was Earth's newly appointed economic strategy director. She was young and smart, with short black hair and bright eyes full of ideas. They rejected us again, Daejung said, dropping his papers on the desk. Hana nodded. I expected that. Show me the new trade zones they approved. Daejung handed her a star map. Certain areas were highlighted in green. These are the systems where we're allowed to mine resources, he explained. And these red zones are where we can sell our goods. Hana studied the map. They've given us the least valuable mining systems, she said, and they've put high taxes on all human products, claiming our manufacturing methods are too dangerous. They want to keep us weak, Daejung said. Hana smiled. It was not a happy smile. Then we need to change the game. If they won't let us compete directly, we'll create new markets they haven't even imagined. 3 months later, Hana's plan was in motion. Human companies began offering services that no other species provided. They focused on areas that other species avoided because they were too dangerous. The first breakthrough came when Minjun Kang's company, Earth Salvage, began recovering ships and cargo from radiation zones. Most species couldn't survive long in high radiation, but humans from Earth had developed better protection against it. We can retrieve your crashed ship from the Deltas Nebula, Minjun told a group of alien merchants. Yes, the radiation is strong there. But humans are more resistant to radiation than many species. We've lived with it on Earth for centuries. The merchants were surprised, but interested. A crashed cargo ship in the nebula had been considered lost forever. No one would risk retrieving it, but these humans were offering to try. When Minjun's team successfully recovered the ship and its valuable cargo, news spread quickly through the galaxy. Suddenly, Earth Salvage had more work than it could handle. This was just the beginning. Another human company started offering security for shipping lanes that were plagued by space pirates. The company hired former soldiers who were used to fighting in difficult conditions. Pirates target these lanes because most Confederation ships avoid them, explained Jiwoo Park, the security company's leader. The gravity waves and radiation make them uncomfortable for most species, but humans can handle it. We're used to harsh conditions. Soon, human security teams were protecting merchant ships across the galaxy. The pirates found that these new guards didn't surrender or run away like others they had faced before. The biggest change came when Admiral June Kim, now older but still determined, proposed a new idea, the Deathworld Insurance Cooperative. Most Confederation insurance companies won't cover ships traveling through dangerous areas, June explained to a group of human business leaders. They won't insure cargo that might be stolen by pirates. They think the risk is too high. But we know how to calculate risk differently, said Hana, who supported the plan. Humans have always lived with danger. We understand it better than they do. The Deathworld Insurance Cooperative began offering coverage for risks that no other company would touch. They insured ships traveling through asteroid fields, cargo heading to politically unstable planets, and buildings on worlds with extreme weather. Their rates were high, but they were the only option for many businesses. And to everyone's surprise, the human company usually made a profit. They were better at assessing real risks versus imagined ones. And when something did go wrong, human teams were willing to go into dangerous situations to minimize the losses. The Confederation thought economic restrictions would keep us contained, Daijung told Hana as they looked at the latest financial reports. 6 months into their new strategy, human companies were growing rapidly. But humans have been overcoming artificial barriers since we invented trade, Hana replied. We don't just play to win. We change the rules of the game itself. As human influence spread through galactic markets, the established powers became concerned. High Speaker Kelterai requested a special meeting with Daijung and Hana. Your species is moving too quickly, Kelterai said when they met in his grand office on the Confederation capital world. There are balances of power that have existed for thousands of years. Perhaps those balances needed to be disrupted, Hana said boldly. A system that cannot adapt to new players is a system destined to fail. Kelterai's feathers ruffled with irritation. You don't understand the complexity of galactic economics. Some older species fear that humans will destabilize markets that have been carefully managed for centuries. We're not trying to destabilize anything, Daijung said calmly. We're just looking for our place in the galaxy. If the Confederation had given us fair treatment from the beginning, we wouldn't have needed to find our own path. Kelterai looked troubled. The Council is considering new restrictions specifically targeting human businesses. They want to limit your activities to certain sectors. That would be unwise, Hana warned. Many non-human businesses now depend on our services. If you restrict us, they will suffer too. What Hana said was true. In just 2 years, humans had made themselves essential to parts of the galactic economy. Ships that once avoided dangerous routes now traveled them with human security teams. Companies retrieved valuable materials from hazardous planets using human mining teams. And the Deathworld Insurance Cooperative now covered thousands of businesses across the galaxy. There's another option, Daijung suggested. Instead of more restrictions, give Earth full membership in the Confederation. Let us join the Economic Council as equals. We have proven ourselves. Kelterai was silent for a long moment. I will take your request to the Council, he finally said. But I must warn you, some species will strongly oppose it. They see humans as too unpredictable, too aggressive. We are what Earth made us, Hana said simply. A species shaped by a dangerous world. But that same strength can benefit the entire galaxy if you let it. As they left the meeting, Daijung looked worried. Do you think the Council will vote for our full membership? Hana smiled confidently. It doesn't matter. We've already won the economic game. Now we need to move to the next level. What's that? Daijung asked. Knowledge, Hana replied. The Confederation still restricts what technology and science they share with us. That's the next battlefield. As their ship left the capital world, human businesses across the galaxy continued to grow and adapt. The Deathworlders had found their first major advantage, and they weren't going to stop playing now. 20 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Confederation. Earth had established itself as an economic power, but humans still faced major barriers in accessing advanced knowledge. The Galactic Academy of Sciences classified humans as insufficiently evolved for responsible utilization of certain technologies. Dr. Min Kang walked through the grand library of the Academy on the Confederation capital world. The library was huge, with tall shelves holding data crystals that contained the knowledge of thousands of years. but Min could only access a small section marked for developing species. Min was Earth's top scientist and the new director of the Human Scientific Initiative. She was a short woman with gray-streaked hair and determined eyes. She stopped at the edge of the restricted section, looking at the boundary she could not cross. "It's for your own protection," said a soft voice. Behind her, Min turned to see Vexitral, the Confederation's chief scientific overseer. He was a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to see everything. "Knowledge must be carefully controlled," Vexitral continued. "Some discoveries require centuries of philosophical development to use responsibly." Minnie smiled politely. "Or perhaps responsible use comes from open discussion and shared ethical frameworks, not artificial restriction." Vexitral tilted his head. "This is why humans concern us. You always want to move too quickly." Later that day, Min met with her research team in their Earth Embassy offices. The team included scientists from various fields: physics, biology, computer science, and more. The Confederation believes knowledge should be given out slowly, based on how evolved they think a species is, Min explained to her team. But human history proves that innovation happens faster when information flows freely. "So what do we do?" asked Junho Rim, a brilliant young physicist. "They won't change their rules for us." Min smiled. "Then we create our own rules. Today we launch the open-source galactic database." Min's plan was bold. Humans would create a new approach to sharing scientific knowledge. They would publish all their discoveries openly and invite progressive scientists from other species to do the same. It began small. Human researchers started collaborating with scientists from newer Confederation species who were also frustrated by the restrictions. They shared their findings without the traditional controls. "This is dangerous," warned an elder scientist from a long-established species. "Some knowledge requires careful guidance." "We respect your view," Min replied. "But we believe that open discussion leads to better ethical frameworks than secrecy." The first big breakthrough came 6 months later. Junho Rim, working with a team that included members of 3 different alien species, developed a new approach to faster-than-light communication. The Confederation had always tightly controlled the FTL communication network. All messages had to pass through their central hubs, which allowed them to monitor and sometimes delay information. "Our new system uses quantum principles to create direct links between any 2 points," Junho explained to Min. "It bypasses the central network completely." "The Confederation won't like this," Min warned. Junho nodded. "That's why we published the complete plans on the open-source database today. It's too late for them to suppress it now." Within weeks, human-designed communication hubs began appearing across the galaxy. Smaller worlds and outer colonies, long frustrated by poor access to the central network, quickly adopted the new technology. They wanted to keep us dependent on their infrastructure, Junho explained as the first human-designed hubs went online. But humans have always excelled at creating connections where none existed before. As humanity's open information network expanded, more species began joining. They were attracted by the rapid innovation and collaborative spirit of the human approach to science. Even some scientists from older established species began participating, though often secretly at first. "Your approach is unorthodox," admitted a senior physicist from one of the oldest Confederation species. "But I've made more progress in 6 months of open collaboration than in 20 years of traditional research." The knowledge revolution spread beyond communication. Human medical researchers shared treatments for diseases that the Confederation had deemed too complex for younger species to handle. Human engineers published designs for more efficient engines that used less fuel. Earth biologists worked with alien scientists to develop crops that could grow on worlds previously considered too harsh for agriculture. Not everyone was pleased. Vexitral called for an emergency meeting of the Science Council. "The humans are disrupting thousands of years of careful scientific progression," he said angrily. "They're sharing knowledge without proper controls. This could lead to disasters if technologies are misused." Min attended the meeting as Earth's representative. "We're not disrupting progress," she responded calmly. "We're accelerating it. Knowledge isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to be applied, tested, and improved upon. That's how Deathworlders approach learning, not as a privilege to be rationed, but as a tool for survival." The debate was fierce, but the Confederation faced a difficult truth. They couldn't stop the knowledge revolution. Too many species had already joined the open network. Trying to shut it down would cause major unrest. The biggest test came 3 years into the knowledge revolution. A deadly plague broke out on Taloris, a frontier world far from the Central Confederation worlds. The traditional response would have been to quarantine the planet and wait for Confederation medical teams to develop a treatment, which could take months. Instead, human doctors immediately shared all data about the plague on the open-source database. Scientists from 17 different species began working on the problem simultaneously. Within weeks, a treatment was developed by a collaborative team. "This is what open knowledge can achieve," Min told the Science Council when the crisis was over. "Thousands of lives were saved because we worked together instead of keeping information locked away." Even some of the strongest critics had to acknowledge the benefits of the human approach. The Science Council voted to officially recognize the open-source galactic database, though they insisted on some basic safety protocols. "You've changed how the galaxy approaches knowledge," Vextral admitted to Min after the vote. "I'm still not sure if it's for the better, but I can't deny the results." "Change is always uncomfortable," Min replied, "but adaptation is necessary for survival. That's something we learned on our death world." As the knowledge revolution spread, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted. Smaller, younger species gained access to technologies that had previously been reserved for the oldest civilizations. The strict hierarchy that had defined the Confederation for thousands of years began to weaken. Some older species warned of disaster. They predicted that unrestricted sharing of knowledge would lead to terrible weapons or dangerous experiments. But to everyone's surprise, the open system developed its own checks and balances. With so many eyes watching and evaluating new discoveries, dangerous applications were often identified and addressed quickly. The old system was built on the idea that knowledge must be controlled from above, Min explained to a group of young scientists from various worlds. "Our system is based on the belief that knowledge thrives when it's shared freely, with responsibility coming from community oversight rather than central authority." It was a fundamental shift in how the galaxy approached learning and innovation, and it had been started by the Deathworlders who never stopped playing to win. 50 years had passed since humans first met the Galactic Confederation. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The rigid Confederation was gone, replaced by the more equal Interstellar Alliance. Earth now held an important position in this new organization. Admiral Jin Lee stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station. The station was a massive structure built in space through the work of many different species. Jin was the grandson of Jun Kim, the commander who had first faced the Confederation so many years ago. Jin looked out at the stars. Below him, on the main deck of the station, representatives from across the galaxy gathered. They were there to celebrate the launch of the Barrier Expedition, a mission to explore beyond the known parts of space. "Your grandfather would be proud," said a voice beside him. Jin turned to see Ambassador Yun Yun walking toward him. She was the grandniece of Hana Yun, who had helped Earth find its economic strength in the early days. He always believed humans would find their place among the stars. Yun continued. Jin nodded. He understood something important about our species. Humans never just play to participate. We play to change the game itself. The two of them watched as the expedition's main ship prepared to leave. The ship was special. It used technology from 27 different worlds. The crew included members of 15 species working together. "It wasn't always easy to get here," Yoon said quietly. That was true. There had been hard times. 10 years after the knowledge revolution began, a group of conservative Confederation species had tried to stop human expansion. They had sent ships to blockade Earth trade routes and threatened human colonies. Earth and its allies had stood firm. The blockade had turned into a tense standoff that lasted for months. War had seemed possible. But in the end, the old Confederation had realized it could not turn back the changes humans had started. Instead, reform had come. The Confederation had transformed into the Interstellar Alliance, with new rules that gave all species more equal say in galactic affairs. "They called us Deathworlders," said Dr. Sora Park, who had just joined Jin and Yoon on the observation deck. Sora was the head of the Alliance's Xenocultural Institute and would be the chief cultural officer on the expedition. They meant it as a simple classification of our planet's harsh conditions. They never understood it described our mindset too. Jin smiled. Our refusal to accept limitations, our drive to overcome obstacles rather than avoid them. On the main deck below, the launch ceremony was beginning. The expedition leader, a member of one of the oldest species in the galaxy, was giving a speech. Beside him stood Captain Young-Ho Ryu, the human who would command the expedition ship. It was remarkable to see so many different beings working together. In the old Confederation, species had kept to themselves, carefully guarding their knowledge and resources. The old powers had seen diversity as something to be managed and controlled. Humans had shown the galaxy a different way. "We taught them something essential," Yoon said, watching the diverse crowd below. "That true strength comes, not from avoiding challenges, but from embracing them. From playing to win, not just once, but continuously." The speech ended. The crowd moved to the large windows to watch the expedition ship prepare to leave. The ship's engines glowed blue against the darkness of space. Jin remembered stories his grandfather had told him about the early days. How the Confederation had tried to keep humans in a box, limiting their rights and access to knowledge. How humans had refused to accept those limitations. First, they had proved themselves in the galactic games, showing their adaptability. Then they had built economic power by finding opportunities others had overlooked. The knowledge revolution had followed, breaking down the artificial barriers to information and technology. Each step had changed the rules of the game. Each victory had opened new possibilities, and humans had never stopped pushing forward. "You think we've gone too far too fast?" Jin asked suddenly. It was a question he sometimes wondered about. Sora thought for a moment. Change is never easy. Some of the older species still think we move too quickly, but look at the results. They all looked down at the gathering below. Species that once would never have spoken to each other now worked side by side. Worlds that had been left behind in the old system now had thriving economies and access to advanced technology. The barrier expedition would never have happened under the old Confederation, Yun pointed out. They would have kept the frontier closed, studied it slowly for centuries, and now we're going to explore it together, Jin said. On the main deck, Captain Young-Ho was making his way to the shuttle that would take him to the expedition ship. The captain stopped to speak with representatives from various worlds. Many reached out to touch his shoulder or shake his hand, wishing him luck on the journey. 50 years ago, they would have kept their distance from a Deathworlder, Sora said with a smile. Jin nodded. The fear and distrust that had once greeted humans had been replaced by respect and even admiration. Not everyone loved humans, of course. Some still found them too aggressive, too quick to challenge established ways. But even those who disagreed with human methods could not deny the benefits of the changes they had brought. "It's time," Yun said, looking at her wrist display. "The expedition is about to launch." They moved closer to the window. The expedition ship was now fully prepared, its engines glowing brighter as they powered up. Jin thought about his grandfather again. Jun Kim had lived long enough to see the formation of the Interstellar Alliance, but had died before this moment. Yet his spirit lived on in this mission. His refusal to accept the limits others tried to place on humanity had started the chain of events that led here. "What do you think we'll find out there, beyond the barrier?" Sora asked, looking at the stars. "I don't know," Jin replied, "but whatever it is, we'll face it together. Not just as humans, but as an alliance of many species." The expedition ship's engines flared brightly. Slowly, it began to move away from the station, headed for the edge of known space. The crowd below cheered and made various sounds of celebration. On the bridge of the expedition ship, Captain Young-Ho Ryu gave the command to engage the final jump sequence. Around him, his multi-species crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. The ship prepared to venture into the unknown. "Remember our mission," Young-Ho told his crew. "We go not just to discover what lies beyond, but to show the strength that comes from unity." As the ship accelerated away from the station, Young-Ho thought about the unofficial motto of the mission, words that had come to define humanity's place in the cosmos. "We are Deathworlders. We don't just play to win, we never stop playing." The ship reached jump speed and disappeared in a flash of light, carrying representatives of many worlds into the unknown. Back on Harmony Station, Jin, Yoon, and Sora watched the empty space where the ship had been. "What do you think happens next?" Yoon asked. Jin smiled. "We keep playing. We keep pushing forward. It's what humans do." "Not just humans anymore," Sora corrected him. "Look around." Jin looked at the station filled with beings from across the galaxy, all working together, all looking to the future with hope and determination. The Deathworlders had changed more than just their own fate. They had changed the fate of the entire galaxy. And they weren't done yet. The game would continue. New challenges would arise. New victories would be won. And the Deathworlders would keep playing, never accepting limitations, never stopping their drive to push beyond every boundary. That was the true legacy of Earth. Not just to win the game, but to keep playing it forever.